Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And in today's stream, I'm going to be trying to work on this animation a bit more, as well as redesigning one of my characters. I finished my Nancy piece earlier. So, to go back, the reason why I didn't stream on Tuesday was because I was just so tired and burnt out. So, I wanted to just spend that Tuesday literally doing nothing. Ooh, and I already got my first viewer. Um, so yeah, Tuesday I didn't have a stream because I was just burnt out and I just wanted to do something else. I wanted to rest for that day. So I had my little day of rest. Today, I'm going to be working on this animation and I'm also going to be redoing one of my designs. So just to go over real quick, um I am going to be redoing Ao. I just want to add more to his design. This is really just something quick I mocked up so that I could finish my animation with him that I was working on. But now I do kind of want to go back and add more to it. So I do have some new poses and I do have some zoom ins of his character. But we will do that a little bit later in the stream. So for right now, let me just go back to anime and I'm going to see if I can work on this for a little bit. Hmm. So let me actually go back to this real quick. Because I do, in fact, have my little storyboard that I worked on. And so, right now, how I'm going to break it up, or at least I'm going to try to break it up, is for now, I'll have everything on one file. But when it comes, but this is just going to be me plotting out my scenes. And so then what I'll do is I'll go back through and I'll like take bits and pieces out and sort of animate them on the frames I see fit. That is one thing that Animate needs to work on is they just need to work on all their all their programs being a bit more cross compatible. So I do think I'm gonna make my time chart right here. So I will choose a nice, let's go for like a nice cyan blue color. And then we're going to open up a new layer. So it's gonna be from frame 44 to 51. So let's go to this brush right here. We are then going to downsize it to about, let's do 13. Uh, let's see, that's going to be 41 to 44 to 51. So that's going to be, so that's going to be about 7 frames for me to work with. And so, really, what I want to do is I think I just want it to be this sort of jerk. Like, I will say that the midpoint is going to be about right here at 46. And then I'll just have it sort of slow into 51. So I think for that, it'll probably be a 3. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be the first timing chart from 44 to 51. And if it does become difficult, what I can do is I'll probably just end up pushing it back. But what I do want for this frame right here, 51 and onwards, is this can probably be extended to maybe 1 second by itself. So since I'm already nearing the 1 second mark, what I can do is I will just push everything back, or what I can do is just extend this to about, let us extend this to about, yeah, right here would be pretty good. And so now what I have to do is now wait a second. This is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means I'm actually going to have to extend this to maybe half a second long. So since I'm using 24 frames, that's going to be, I'm going to have to increase it to 12 frames. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, Shoot. So when I was animating this, what I forgot to do was I forgot to select everything. So I'm actually gonna have to go back and select all the frames. One. So that's gonna have to be 3. And since this is 7, I'm gonna have to extend it to 12. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's see, 6, 12. So I think for this one, what I can do is go a little bit faster than half a second, so probably 18 frames. Just because I want the exhale to be a bit longer than the inhale. Because if the inhale was going to be, um, because if the inhale is going to be half a second, which is going to be 12 frames, then this one is going to have to be a 3/4 of a second, which is going to be 18 frames. 3, 6, 9, 12. 80 to 97. That is 18 frames for me to work with. And so, much like how this one I planned on cutting, excuse me, and so much like how this one I plan on having a sort of jerking motion, I think I'm gonna have the same one for the exhale, but maybe not to the extreme. So, what I can do is I'll probably set the midpoint actually to about at the quarter mark. It's gonna be 83. So, walking, sharp inhale, sharp exhale, and it's going to be like this deflation motion. And then it's going to be back to center for about 2 seconds before the camera pans. And then that is where I, as the animator, will switch over to scene two. And scene two, we will get that. We will get to that later. But for now, what I need to do is I need to animate this. So a bit about this teaser. This is not gonna be like my previous teaser. The last one was more so a proof of concept, whereas this one is going to be more so an actual sneak peek or an actual glimpse at the project I'm working on. This for this mini animation, what I want to do is I want to draw people in. So I'm trying to provide a snippet of the project I'm working on so that I can finally get some traction that I've been working towards and that I want to develop. My end goal with this is to get people on board. That's what I want. That's what I desire to do. This looks pretty good. Oh, something's going off in my chat. I had to move some things around so I can look at this. No? Maybe I'm just seeing things. I thought someone was talking to me because I see it in the corner right there. Hmm. For some reason, I can't see my onion skin. I wonder if I raised it by 75% and then just decrease it by 5. Hold on a second. You see, that's better. I think it's because of the color I used. Like, I used this purple, so it wasn't really coming out the way I wanted it to. Hmm. So what I want to do right now is mainly focus on the face because, believe it or not, when it comes to animating the body, at least for me personally, animating the body and animating the in-betweens of the body is far more easier for me than animating or trying to animate the head. That's why usually when you see animations, they tend to animate the body first and then they'll get the head later. I think when it comes to me doing my in betweens, I'll probably use the regular brush tool for this, and then when I do my final line art, that's when I'll switch over to the motion brush. Because this scratchy texture I was trying to do is actually causing a bit more confusion than what I initially wanted. I was just trying to rough out a design, and then I ended up harming myself more than helping myself. For this frame, I may have to change the color. I mean, at least for the color I'm using for the. Hold on, let me try something. What if I go closer? You see, then I can actually make it out. So I have to move closer on the timeline in order to actually see and make out the future frame. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's see, if the midpoint is going to be 83 and I'm going for a more gradual, slow transition, that's going to be 4 frames in total, so those will likely have to be animated on either threes or fours. But I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself. So let us find the midpoint between these two heads. Like I said, for me personally, it's easier for me to animate the body than it is the head. And you'll actually see that in a lot of animations and a lot of animators. What they'll do is they will separate the head and have it on its own separate frame. So I like to animate the head first and just get it out of the way, at least when I'm in my roughing phase and my rough in between phase. So then I can just go back through and animate the body as I see fit. Oh, hello, Blue Camera. So this is a timing chart. Usually in animations, when you're trying to, usually in animation, there is this interplay between the frames. So there are certain times where you're gonna animate on ones, twos, or threes. So let me actually zoom in a bit. So right here, this is animating on twos, where there are two frame segments between every keyframe. You then have animating on fours, which is this previous segment. And let me actually use the loop feature real quick to sort of. So this cycle right here is animating on fours. And then you have this segment right here, which is when someone is animating on twos. You see how the pacing and the speed can be different depending on the frame time. Timing charts are used to Timing charts are a physical representation of what the animator is working on or what the animator has planned for their specific scene. They're often used when storyboard artists have set up a rough outline of the animation, and then that's when in-betweeners look at the timing charts and they say, okay, well, let me just plan my in-between for this key segment. Like the midpoint is supposed to be at frame 46, which is right here. Actually, no, I had to retime this, so everything got pushed up a bit. But usually these are plans, or at least rough plans, for in-betweeners to go back through and sort of time everything. There's supposed to be 3 frames right here, and then 1 frame right here. So from 44, when the animation starts, to, in this case, 56, when the animation ends, that is how long this segment is supposed to last, for 12 seconds, because the animation is half a second. So that means that there should only be one, two, three, four total scenes, or four total frames of animation in this 12-second time frame. And then you have over here, which is a different frame segment, where the midpoint, where the animation is meant to be half done or half complete, that is set right here at the 83rd frame. And then the rest is going to be a sort of slowed down version, or a slow uptick to the final frame, which is meant to end right here at frame 97. And that's where you get your principles of animation, like squash and stretch, ease in, ease out. Ease in and ease out comes with that playing of the frames and playing of your frame timing. Do you have any further questions or no, none at the moment? Do you have any further questions? So for this frame right here, because the midpoint is supposed to be at frame 83, I now have to you finished working on your anime episode, or like have you been script writing or have you been animating? What have you been up to? So let's zoom in real quick right here, and we will time it to about right here and right here. It's an anime I've been working on by myself for 6 years, but I've only been able to finish a 55-minute episode. So recently I was told that character designs alone can tell a strong, tell a story itself. Oh, of course, character designs can tell a story itself. Usually, how I go about it is for me personally, a character's design is meant to tell their personality as well as what they've went through. And you'll actually see it a lot in OC designs, like when certain artists, certain fan artists, as well as certain people who try to make their own original stories, their usual cop out is not the correct word. Cop out is actually pretty disrespectful. But what they try to do is they will give their characters scars to sort of show traumas that the character has been through. And that actually is really good. It's a good start to character design. Whereas me personally, I more so go with fashion. How my characters dress, how they sort of act and behave in poses. So it's not that I'm afraid to give a character scars. It's more so like I try to design my like I will draw a character in. Actually, I can show you guys really. I don't know why I'm talking when I literally have my computer full of my work. Um, like right here. This is the character design I did for Trina. She is so first of all, I already took like heavy inspiration from Y2K fashion. Essentially, she is a singer and song artist. Her magic sort of deals around amplifying others as well as having these special light shows when she sings. Um, I wanted to go for a more natural hair with her, so I decided with like the nice afro puffs, and then she just wears this nice little hat on top of it. Because the Seven Sages world is a blend of science fantasy and it was coming out of the Y2K early 2000s era, that's why I went with sort of the bell bottom like chaps and the short shorts because I was really going for that sort of, Destiny's Child Y2K pop star aesthetic. Like this was sort of the aesthetic I was going for. Like black woman, Y2K artist, singer, and then there was also this like nice Y2K hat I found that I wanted to give her. But I also wanted to go for a more classy design with her, which is why I gave her this sort of like streamer, not really scarf, but like this almost cape like attachment to the back of her crop top. And then I gave her like some nice boots. I think I don't think these are mud boots. I think I found a different design for them that I sort of went with. And like I went for like the off the shoulder sort of design. I gave her more natural hair. Like I actually went back into the 80s and 90s of like the natural hair movement for black women, and that's what I went for. Also like the gold earrings and bracelets, like I wanted to give her a bit of asymmetry, which is why I only put the bracelets on her right arm because she is again a singer. She's a dancer. And then like apple bottoms and bell bottom jeans were a big thing, but because I already have so many characters, like this was like early on in concept, so quite a few of my characters had baggy pants already. I didn't want to give her baggy pants, so I ended up going for this short shorts with like this bell bottom attachment. So it shows her legs, but it's also still classy to an extent. And it's like her outfit style is not necessarily revealing, but it still shows that she's a very beautiful and classy woman. That's what essentially I was going for with this design. Is beautiful yet classy at the same time. Like she shows skin, but she doesn't show too much skin. Because again, she's a singer, she's a song artist. She's a singer, she's a song artist, but she does have humble beginnings to an extent. Like she's a very humble person, a humble woman. Her design tells a story. Um, Let me find the character I just recently did. I think he's in my other folder. These are early renditions of my character design, my mascot. I'll save those for later. I'm sort of not really ashamed of them, but just eh, like you see yourself grow. This is my new present mascot. I went with this sort of dashiki look, and then I put lilies around the right side of the dashiki because, again, my father's from Nigeria. I am of Igbo descent, but I also have a Christian upbringing. So that's why I went with the more angelic design. And you just don't often see angelic black characters, I guess you could say. Now, the purple stole around his shoulders, that's actually from my college days because I am a college graduate. I got my bachelor's degree, so that's really something I wanted to show and express in my mascot's design. You also have the red eyes, which is another biblical moniker because in the Bible it says that God had eyes of flame. So that's why I went with that red look. Just very angelic overall. You also have this golden leg bracelet or leglet around his left leg. I mean around his right leg. Then you have the glove, the drawing glove, like the hair, the beard. I wanted to give my mascot a beard because my beard isn't that full, but I am growing it out. So I really wanted to give him sort of this distinguished look. I mean, I really don't know what to say. It's just I can make attractive designs. I just try not to go for the whole, hmm, for a lack of a better word, slutty aesthetic. Pardon my French, pardon my language. Nancy's design, he's a showman, he's a trickster, so his magic deals in illusions, which is why he's a spider, because spiders set up webs. There are other spiders who sort of dance or sort of have tricks to get a mate. You have, again, he's also Creole. He has some Creole ancestry, so he does have this a bit of a French aesthetic to him, which is why, again, he wears a sort of tuxedo or a suit. I just didn't want to give him long pants legs because he is a kid, and I'm just gonna be honest. How many times do you see a black Shota? You never see black boy Shotas. So I just wanted to say, hey, I'm gonna make this a cute, young-looking character, and that's what I went with. Is it wise to animate a character with the background at the same time? Blue, what do you specifically mean by that? Like, I mean, usually what animators do is they animate multiple things on different frames because they don't want to run the risk of playing with something or having to add layer upon layer and add animation on top of animation. That's why they usually break up their background or they break up their character model from the character's head and so on and so forth. For this animation that I'm working on currently, This gray background is not natural. I took the box tool and I sort of just drew a box over top my. I drew a box over top the artboard, so then I can better work with separate colors. So then my eyes aren't dancing around the place. And usually, when it comes to backgrounds, what a lot of animators do is they will use a black backboard just so they have a nice neutral color. Because white is not really good when it comes to drawing or when it comes to art, because you tend to make your stuff too light or too dark, especially when you're working on lighter colors or working with lighter colors. Usually, the human eye or the human brain tends to make things darker just so they can better perceive it when they're working in motion.
Enjoy every video.
I was using a model and an ad popped up. Sorry about that. Yes, I do. Honestly, I really do. Because the thing about animation and the thing about pursuing art in general is that as long as you're attentive and as long as you have the desire and the will to grow, you will be better than your last project. And me personally, because I am a man of faith, I pray a lot, I read my Bible, I try my best to have faith and have hope that where I was at yesterday or where I'm at today is better than where I was yesterday. And I can say that since growing in my faith, quite a few of my works have gotten better. I can definitely see the shift from where I was when I began to where I am now. And it is a lot of work. And like I've been disrespected. Like I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna try to hold things back, but like I have been disrespected. Like there have been moments and times where someone legit just called me a fan. Like I had my channel and everything. Like I've consistently posted my art. I've been working on characters. I've done everything I can. And then there will be people who just call me a fan or say I know nothing, which is very disrespectful, but I haven't gotten disheartened about it. So literally, and I said this before in a previous stream, but it is only thanks to God that I'm at where I'm at right now. It is literally only thanks to God through faith and through having that hope and desire that I'm anywhere near where I'm at now. He's gotten me this far. No one else took a chance on me. No one else thought I was worth the time of day. I maybe had two college professors who helped me get my bachelor's degree. Other than that, everyone forgot about me. Upon graduation and even before that, I applied to like 1,000 different industry jobs and positions, internships, entry level work, everything. No one wanted to hire me. So I just buckled down and I said, okay, I'm going to go independent. I'm going to start my own channel. I'm going to make my own content, make my own work. I'm going to work on this show that I've been working on for like 2, 3 years now, rigorously. We're working on different designs and short animations. Like, God has gotten me this far. And perhaps the only reason why, and like this can go into a bit of the prophetic or a bit of the spiritual, but I am of the belief and mindset that everything that is happening right now is ordained, was planned to happen. Like I do in my spirit believe that it was an inevitability that there would be a writer strike and an actor strike. There would be an inevitability that there was going to be an animation strike. And last I heard, their first round of negotiations fell through and didn't have any good results. And the animators are still on strike. And I did my part. Like, I felt the urge and I felt the need to say, hey, maybe you guys should decentralize from Hollywood. I got called out. I got called everything but a child of God. And whatever happens next, God got me. God got me this far. He's going to keep me going. And so maybe things are meant to fall through, and maybe I'm meant to sort of, I don't know, build things up from the ashes or like just do something. But like I said, I'm a man of faith. Faith alone got me this far, so let me just see where else things can go. Like, I do have long term plans to open my own studio. That's not gonna change. That's not gonna be altered, or traction is gonna shift. Like, when I say, hey, I'm gonna decentralize from Hollywood, I'm gonna decentralize from Hollywood. Because my plan, the plan I have is to get anywhere between 1,000 to like 1,200 subscribers. I want to try to get monetization, but maybe that's not really the end goal. The plan is to get 1,000 subscribers, and because I have that large of a following, that is going to be enough social pull and social clout, so then I can go to a bank, I can go to a business and get that business loan so that I can move to a location in my city, set up a studio, and then start bringing people on board. And I do have plans to make Seven Sages. I do have plans to make my own content and push that out there. But because it's an animation studio, there may be moments and times where we're going to be enlisted by other corporations, by other businesses to make content for them, anywhere from original shows to like commercials or advertisements, anything really. So I'm not afraid to go independent because I know and I feel that it is something within my spirit that needs to happen. Like I've said this before, I've always tried to push it. Hollywood should never have happened. And what I mean by that is media and entertainment should never have been concentrated in one location. There should have been multiple studios. There should have been multiple businesses. There should have been multiple different companies throughout the US, not just in one location. And all the issues we're facing now, where it is difficult to find your way through the door, where it is difficult to find your first big break, all of that is because the industry has been concentrated in one location. Just the entire industry in general, it's like it was built on a stack of cards, and this was just inevitable. Oh, I already explained them earlier to Blue Camera, but I guess I can go over them real quick. So in animation, there are things. There's something called timing, where you have to sort of play with the time frame. So it works with animating on ones, twos, threes, and in some rare instances, animating on fours, where you have to sort of plot and plan out how much animation is going to be going on within a certain segment. So in this 18 frame segment, this character is meant to go from this, let me turn off my onion skin, from this upward position to this bent over, sort of sharp exhaling position. And there's going to be some squatch and stretch that goes into that. I'll talk about that later. But essentially, there's only supposed to be 5 frames within this instance. So what I have to do as the animator is set up a mid frame, which is this frame right here. That's where the animation is nearing completion. And then throughout the rest of it, that is where we have sort of padding for time. just used to doing flat animations in Adobe Animate. Quite impressive that you push yourselves to draw without perspective tools like in other software. So you can animate anything in Adobe Animate. Adobe Animate is just like any other animation software. The only real difference is that Animate is vector, while things like Clip Studio Paint or what's the other one? ZBrush, those are more so raster based. So they use pixels while Animate uses computer formulas. I really don't care. Like, I spent money on the Creative Cloud suite, so I'm gonna learn how to use Adobe Animate instead of trying to use 10 different things. I don't do that here, okay? I'm not necessarily cheap. Well, I am cheap, okay? I'm very smart with my money usage. I don't go out and waste money. That's not really me. So this is what God gave me, so this is what I'm about to use. And don't try to say nothing to me about it. I mean, I plan on having Adobe Animate be my main animation software. So, I mean, I better learn how to use this. I better figure out how to animate more than one thing. Because I don't got money like that to just spend on 10 different animation softwares. And if someone don't like it, then tough numb yos. You not spending money on this. I am. I also just like the layout. Like that's one thing that I really like and enjoy is the layout is really good in Adobe Animate. Everything is there that you need within reason. It's just a matter of figuring it out. Thank you. And then one of the good things about using Adobe Animate is when you transfer your animation file over to After Effects in order to composite your animation, it keeps your layers consistent. Because if I were to use something like Clip Studio Paint or ZBrush, I would have to export every single layer I worked on in Clip Studio or in ZBrush as its own separate layer, and then I'd have to put it all into After Effects for me to composite the animation. Whereas when it comes to Adobe Animate, because they have the same parent company of Adobe, I can just put in the raw flash file into After Effects and everything will stay. Like it keeps my settings, it keeps the layers I worked on, it keeps all my layers. It also keeps the naming conventions I use for my layers. So there's no trying to fish or trying to figure out what's where. You see, I would like that too, having more textured brushes, but to an extent, I kind of understand why they didn't add textured brushes because Adobe Animate is vector. The common consensus is that you're going to be using the bucket tool in order to fill the colors between your vectors. And so with that, you don't want to have a textured brush because then you may miss some spots or the code may not fill the area all the way. So Adobe Animate doesn't really get um Adobe Animate doesn't really get texture brushes, but what we do get is this fluid brush, and you can play with the angle, the taper, the stabilizer, the pressure of it, everything. You can play with the taper, and when you draw it, well, actually, let me zoom in real quick, or like increase the size of it. You can play with the taper of the brush. You can play with the angle. So we don't get texture brushes, but we do get the fluid brush. But even then, the fluid brush still does have some of its own issues because you have to be very quick with the fluid brush, or else you may end up with shaky lines when you're animating. Like right here, you have like this isn't a perfectly stable line or perfectly curved line. You're gonna see like little ridges and notches right here, especially right here when I was picking up my pencil and slowing down. Like that's one of the drawbacks of the fluid brush. But one of the things that the fluid brush has that not many people know about is you can choose different values. Like you have different brush modes. Like you can choose to paint only fills, paint behind something, you can paint selections, you can paint inside of an object that's on a layer. That's actually what's really good about Adobe Animate's brushes, especially the fluid brush. Now, I will say that when it comes to cleanup, like usually in animation, once you're finally done with your line art and you put everything down and you have everything ready to fill, sometimes you can forget to close off an object. So then you go back to use the paint bucket. You can't fill something because it's not a closed object. So then you have to go back. So that's why the fluid brush is good because then you can just select paint behind and you can paint behind something so then you don't mess with the coloring. And you can fill it real quick. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm using the loop tool in order to check my animation. So let me actually go back real quick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to play the animation in full and see. That's actually pretty good. How long have I been streaming for now? Because I've been going at it for a while. An hour and 37 minutes. That's actually a pretty good time. Probably go for another 2 hours. So there are multiple phases to animation. There's rough in betweenings. Well, first off, there's storyboarding where you put everything down. Then there's rough in betweening, smooth in betweening. Um, let's see, rough in betweening, smooth in betweening, and then you have your final pass. So rough in betweening is when you go in and you just put in the basic motion. Like this would be considered rough in betweening, where you're just going in and you're trying to put in the different values and how the character is meant to look, operate, so on and so forth. Smooth in betweening is when you go back through, and sometimes smooth in betweening can be interlaced with your final pass, where you're adding like hair, eyes, maybe subtle movements, things like that. Sure, I'll take a look at your work real quick. I see a lot of Minecraft work. Oh, I see some of your animations now. Ooh, you did some stuff on Cyberpunk. You got some tutorials. Ooh, that's really good. Subscriber story, designing. Oh, I see your demo reel. It looks pretty good. Let me see if I can pull it up on my browser. Because I don't really go on Instagram on my. I really don't go on Instagram on my computer. So let me see if I can. I mean, here's a secret. I kind of suck too at timing. Even I haven't gotten it down pat just yet. There's still more work for me to do. If you look at some of my earlier animations, my timing is pretty bad. Let me see if I can go and find it again. I mean, I don't know if I have your permit. I mean, I know you asked me to look at it, but I don't know if I have your permission to show your site on my stream or whatever. I mean, are you okay with that? Would you like me to show it on my screen? I mean, this is your demo reel, and it's pretty good. I mean, I'm no look. Here's the thing. I'm no authority on any sort of animation, so you have definitely found your style in that you more so go for a characterized cartoonish style, and that works for you. Even for your stuff, it still looks really good. Maybe a bit more work on your hair animation, like how you show like your wave principle and flowing fabrics. That may need a bit of work, but because what a lot of story time animations do is they mainly go for this kind of style where it's not too deep in animation. They just have more basic and a few more rigid motions. So if that's what you're going for, then definitely. Now, if you're trying to go for something like a Naruto, then you may need some more work. But for what you got, this is pretty good. This is pretty decent. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm nowhere near. I'm nowhere near this. I just got to be honest. Like I'm nowhere near this. Like I still got a bit more work to do. Like I can tell that this is where you tried to do some wave principle right here with the hair in the background. And I can also see, actually I really like this rain animation. It does look pretty good. Like I do like this animation where the character is walking like on the side of the road and he's going down the road, probably going home or somewhere. And I do like this bounce. Like you make good attention to how a walk cycle is meant to be, that up and down, that bouncing motion. And you also have a pretty good idea and concept of one point perspective. Like this definitely tells that there's something off with that dog, how you managed to put it in center frame, or at least lower from center. But very ominous and very good. Now, I do want to know, did you. I mean, because this is actually very well in between. Like, that's really the thing with. That's like one of the very good things with animation is even if you don't have a good understanding of timing, at the very least, like you can make some very decent animations. Like I can tell you probably used a zoom in tween for this, and then the dog turning, that was all hand done. Even this transformation right here, that was also hand done as well. You didn't use any tweens for that. And then I like the slow shift from dog to demon as it gets up. And then the guy sort of. Now, you probably could have had it linger on this frame real quick, like at least for an extra second or two. And then you probably could have in between from like having this, his hands out like this, to going into this sort of like raised motion. Like you probably could have in between an extra frame in between that just to sort of ease it. And then probably do like a quick either 3/4 or side when he was going from this motion to running backwards. It's really good animation. I like it. Really good, really well put together. welcome. I'm just looking at some of your stuff. It's all really good. It's all really nice. Like I like this stuff. And you definitely show a lot of potential. Like you have a lot of potential. You really just need to hone it. Just find what you like to do. A lot of times when it comes to finding your animation style, it's not necessarily finding an animation style is not like finding an art style. An art style is making art easier for yourself, whereas an animation style is figuring out how you like to animate certain things. And every single kind of animator is valid, from the people who are just starting out to those who have had experience for a while. If you want to be a simplistic animator, then by all means go ahead and do that. If you want to be more so of like a character animator, like for me personally, I would say that my animation is inspired in part by my background. Like I watched a lot of anime growing up, so I try to go for a more humanoid design choice for my animations. Like I do know that having a more characterized animation style is definitely going to be easier and faster, but for the stories I wish to tell, I would like to make my characters look more humanoid. But every sort of animation style is valid. It's about finding what works for you and finding how you wish and desire to express your medium. I mean, do you want to be simplistic? Do you want to be simplistic? Or would you rather be more detailed in how you animate? I want to improve on my flat style. It lacks 3D form. So, if you're trying to add more depth to your animation, I would say from personal experience, when I got into trying to animate more depth in what I do, because I'll actually show you guys my first ever animation that I made. Let me go over to content. Let me go all the way down. Let me like just go over to the beginning. Well, let me see if I can find it first. Okay, this is kind of embarrassing, but I might as well show you people now because this is how you improve and this is how you get better. Yeah. I cringe at my past. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I cringe and I feel embarrassed about my past because I see my past projects and I'm like, why couldn't I animate like that to begin with. But anyway, this is my first animation. This was for, well, this is my first college level animation when I was doing like a, um, I was doing a project for college. Anyway, this is what I did. Yes, yes, that's my first animation. It's very slow, but the idea was to animate a ball bounce and then have a surprise at the end. This is 6 seconds long. I did some squash and stretch, and then I had like this little OC, little witch character I made come up at the end. So you guys can definitely see the difference between this and my most recent animation. Like, this is my most recent animation I've done. And then this is one of my first animations I ever did. Definitely a change in my spacing, a change in development in how I animate my characters, as well as better bloom effects, better compositing of my animation. I didn't even know
The
what
remembrance is no different than the sea. Never gaze upon its surface on a
it's like night and day. So it's really a matter of just taking your time and doing some targeted exercises and knowing when, where, as well as how you want to take your animation. That's really what it just boils down to. But because I'm trying to do more character animation, because I'm going for a more anime-esque aesthetic, I'm trying to I'm trying to work more so on my backgrounds, or rather how I animate my backgrounds. I also have to work more on my character models and ensure that I stay on model. Well, it's already been 2 hours for this. You know, I was supposed to be working on a new character sheet because I got Photoshop open right now and I don't like how I animated Owoh, so I was gonna go back through and sort of add more detail to him. Actually, I should still have. Ah, here it is. So this right here is the, what did I say it was? This is a storyboard. You see, I know. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm the kind of person where what I learn becomes instinct. So I know how to properly animate. I know how to keep things on model. I know everything. It's just sometimes I forget the proper words for things. So this is a storyboard I made a few days ago. And this is the storyboard I'm going to be following. Whenever you're animating, it's always good to create a storyboard because it gives you a sense of depth as well as timing on how far you want to take your animation and how far things should theoretically go. So this is following the main character. This is going to be a scene from the pilot that I'm working on where we meet one of the main characters. We're going to be meeting Saren. His whole story is that he is ex-military. When magic returned to the world, there were different experiments that occurred where people were trying to figure out how to give someone more magic or have their magic become stronger. Saren was one of these military experiments where he had like a fiance, he wanted to marry her, but he didn't have the right amount of money. So he decided to take on this experiment because it would give him a pay increase to finally allow him to get a house and start a family with his fiance. The only issue is that after these experiments, they left him barren. So everything he worked towards, having kids, setting up a future, setting up a life for himself, he can no longer have that because he can no longer have children. So he is walking throughout New Babel, which is this city I made and designed, and I'll go over some concept art or like some rough concept art I made of that. So he's walking around New Babel when he sees this kid who is a street performer, and that's where he meets Nancy for the first time, that character that I made and designed. So Nancy is sort of having this light show in the middle of the street, and then that's when Saren sees sort of a flash of light coming from a rooftop building, and that's where he sees the same boy, Nancy, again, and he also sees a small group of people at the top of this building. And so it seems like they're doing some shady stuff. And towards the end of this particular scene, a portal gets open, and that's when this woman in yellow sort of walks through it. And so because of his military training, that is when Saren is sort of put on guard, like he's looking around and trying to see, what's going on, what's about to happen. So he sees the portal open up, and he sees this woman jump out, and she actually goes into the facility that he was about to go into. Like, this facility is where the experiments took place, where they were experimenting on soldiers and trying to make magic super soldiers. And the scene ends with Saren sort of getting ready to go in and fight or do what he needs to do. I took inspiration from the Bible, so there's going to be a lot of, Revelations, Book of Enoch, and other apocryphal inspiration for this. It follows the chapter in it follows both Enoch and Revelations in that there's going to be a certain appointed time where God will fill his spirit back into the land. And you also have the book of Enoch where it goes over like the fallen angels and them teaching man how to use magic and create weapons of mass destruction, so on and so forth. And even though I call this a science fantasy, and even though I call this like magic, it's not necessarily magic in that sense. It's more so like a projection of your will onto the world. it's more so like techniques or powers that are innate to people. So you have folks who can use illusions, some people use barriers, some people heal, others can shoot fireballs or move and bend the elements to their will. It's all magic and anyone can use any type of magic. That's really the main thing I wanted to push with this show is I didn't want to go the fairy tale route or the Black Clover route where there's just one person who uses fire magic and one person who uses water magic. Like, no, it's like anyone can use any type of magic and anyone can teach someone how to use a certain type of spell. It's just people have their preferences or their way and method of using their magic is different. Like, there's a priest character, he's probably the strongest character in the show and his magic is prayer. Like how he goes about using his magic is praying. There are some characters who use math or who use science and use alchemy and like chemistry in order to use their magic. Like they blend and mix different elements on the periodic table. There are others who are singers and their whole thing is using the wavelength of sound and their voice to sort of project their effects outwards. You have Nancy, he is an illusionist, and because he's a child, he doesn't really have that much of an understanding on the world. So he more so uses illusions as sort of a way to make up for his lack of power and his lack of understanding. There's also more innate connections. Like men are more prone to using logic, whereas women are more prone to using emotions, but there's not necessarily a strength or weakness with that. Usually, when it comes to that sort of split dichotomy, like if men want to, they can use their emotions for their magic. If women want to, they can actually think through their spells and use more logic for their magic. So just because you're a man or a woman doesn't mean you're strictly confined to those mindsets and mentalities. One of the main characters, she is a scientist and how she uses her magic is she will actually like cast different combinations and different combinations will have varying effects. Like she's very chemistry oriented with her magic. That's actually the yellow character model that you're going to see that I drew and designed in the storyboard. Wow, I've been streaming for a while now. It's already like 102. I think that's okay. I think I can go for just a bit longer. Who called me? Oh, that was my mom who called. That was just my mom. She was calling to check in on me. She thought I usually ended my streams at 12:30, which I do, but because I started this one late, I decided to go a few extra minutes longer. But I do think it is about time I go. Maybe that's like my sign. So anyway, I do hope you all enjoy. I'll probably keep animating later on. I do want to take a quick break because I just been doing so much. I stream Tuesdays and Fridays. I try to stream around 10 a.m. I will be gone and away on between September 4th through 6th. So I believe that's going to be probably, I'll just check my calendar, but I'm pretty sure one of those falls on a Friday, so I won't be able to stream that day to be with family. Um, one of my cousins once removed has passed away, so I'll be going to Connecticut again, which nothing's wrong with that, to be with family during that period. Um, the world is becoming a more darker place, so I think now is the time, even if you're not particularly religious, at the very least now should be the time where you try to come together as a family. Anyway, I do hope you all enjoyed. I stream, like I said, I stream on Tuesdays and Fridays, usually around 10 o'clock. Fridays are my extra long days where I like to stream for like 2 hours maybe. Anyway, this has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share even, and I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream.